Most leaders spent years building their careers and very little time building their people. But the science is clear. The quality of your relationships is a stronger predictor of how long you'll live and how well you'll lead, almost more than anything else. Welcome back to Amit's Leadership Compass, where I'm continuing my Ikigai series. And this week, I want to ask you something uncomfortable. So you've spent all these years building your career, your skills, your reputation, your results. But when did you last deliberately invest in the relationships that actually sustain you? Not networking, not transactional connections, real, deep, sustained relationships. Because here's what the blue zones teach us. Longevity isn't just about what you eat or how you move. It's about who you're connected to and whether you're truly present for them. In every blue zone, another strong pattern emerges, and that's about strong social ties. People in Okinawa, Sardinia, Ikaria, Nicoya, and Loma Linda aren't isolated. They're embedded in community. They have daily interactions. They maintain intergenerational relationships sometimes, and they belong. This isn't incidental because the research shows that social connector is as important to longevity as diet and exercise. Loneliness, on the other hand, is as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Let that sink in. Now, for me, my understanding of loneliness didn't start in the boardroom or when I became a leader. It started at the tender age of 12. I was in year 8. My friendships had broken down and I had no one to share break times with, no connection. If that wasn't hard enough, the loneliness would follow me onto my journeys to and from school on the bus. I had nothing but my own thoughts for company. Just that kind of loneliness that a child carries quietly and desperate not to show it, but unable to escape it. So I did what I thought would fix it. I'd started playing the clown in lessons. I thought if I could make people laugh, they'd like me, they'd include me. What I didn't realise was they were laughing, but laughing at me, not with me. And every day I felt a little lower, a little less like myself. I was so busy trying to please others, I was lost track of who I actually was. And then something clicked. I looked at myself in the mirror and I was a desperate, approval seeking individual. I didn't recognize myself. And more importantly, I didn't like who I was becoming. So I had to make a decision. I had to stop. Stop trying to perform for people so they like me. I just had to be myself. That shift was almost immediate, and it has stayed with me ever since. Friends I made then are still now in my inner circle today, some 34 years later. What I learnt at 12 and what leadership has only confirmed to me ever since, you cannot build real connection from a false version of yourself. Authenticity isn't a leadership buzzword, it's the only foundation that actually holds. Now, something about leadership is that the higher you go in leadership, the lonelier it can become. Fewer peers who understand your challenges, fewer people you can be vulnerable with, more pressure to have all the answers. And if you're not intentional about it, you end up being isolated at the top, lonely. But isolation isn't a badge of honor, it's a liability. Leaders who are isolated, they tend to make worse decisions because they have no one to challenge their thinking. They burn out faster because they have no one to share the weight. And they lose perspective because they have no one to give them a reality check. While leaders who are connected, they tend to think more clearly because they have a trusted sounding board or boards. They sustain longer because they have people who energize them. They stay humble because they're reminded they're human. In my previous episode, I touched on chronic stress and how I'd get home and still feel compelled to answer emails, check messages, stay connected to the business. Like switching off was somehow a dereliction of duty. But it went deeper than that. In my early years on holiday, the time I told myself I'll finally be present with my family, I was still grinding, still checking in. The constant busyness had become a badge of honour, and I was wearing it with pride. And here's the part that still stings when I think about it. I was there physically on the beach, at the dinner table, in the hotel room. My children could see me, but I wasn't with them. My eyes were on the phone, my mind was on on my inbox. I was present in body, but completely absent in everything that mattered. I told myself that I was doing this for them, working that hard, pushing relentlessly. But the cost of my ambition was the very connection I was supposedly protecting. I was alone, not visibly, not dramatically, but genuinely, quietly alone, surrounded by the people I love most, but completely disconnected from them. And the regret of that hit me. I had positioned those holidays as family time. I sold it to myself and to them, but I wasn't showing up. I wasn't fully there. And what my family needed, what my Ikigai needed, wasn't a half present version of myself. It was one that was there, mind and body in the same place at the same time. I'm not the only one who's had to learn this. Jonny Wilkinson, England's World Cup winning fly half, and one of the most driven, obsessive performers sport has ever produced, talks about the power of presence. He says you must be present in whatever you do, all or nothing, because when you're truly present, you find joy in whatever you're doing. It could be spending time with your family, on the sports field, or even washing up. It doesn't matter what the activity is. What matters is that you are there for all of it. That landed for me because present isn't a gift only to give in big moments, it's practice. And the people who deserve it should have it every single day, not just when the inbox can wait. Connection isn't something you do when you have time, it's what gives you the resilience to keep going when things are hard. Now, my final takeaway in this episode is about quality over quantity. Here's what matters. It's not about how many people you know, it's about who really knows you. Blue Zone residents don't have thousands of connections on LinkedIn. They have deep, enduring relationships with a handful of people who show up for each other. As leaders, we need that too. We need 3 to 5 people who know you beyond your title, will tell you the truth even when it's uncomfortable, celebrate your wins and sit with you in your losses. That's your inner circle. And if you don't have one, building it should be a priority. Now, at university, I had a huge circle of friends, loads of people in my life, probably because I was the life of the party. But I'll be honest with you, was that real connection? Or was it just the fact that I was the first one up for a drink, up for a party? Because the moment I left, my friendships evaporated, and I was naive enough to be surprised about that. But throughout, there have been 2 people who I touched on before that have been with me since school, and at university, despite the noise and the numbers, I was able to pick up 2 more people who have been with me since then, 27 years. Those relationships didn't happen by accident. They happened because we invested in each other consistently over time. When we're together, there are no titles, no cars, no postcode comparisons, no hierarchy. We see each other as we first did. That innocence has deepened into something unshakable. We've been there for each other at the highest and lowest points. The situations may have changed, but we haven't. And I've been blessed to count Gayatri, my wife, as a 5th person in my circle. 5 people, that's it, that's enough. For those of you who know me know I love Sir Alex Ferguson, because I think he's the greatest of all time, especially being a Manchester United fan. In his biography, he wrote that you only need 6 people to carry your coffin. That's about as clear as it gets. It's quality, not quantity. Now, the people in my inner circle, we don't always agree on everything. Far from it. We argue, we challenge each other. We sat on opposite sides of the table more than once. But come what may, we are there, by each other's side, without question when it matters. So Gayatri, Tony, Suk, Jazz and Pally, thank you. I love you all. Everything I've shared today comes down to one thing, presence. At 12, I learnt that real connection only comes when you show up as yourself. On that beach, I learnt that showing up physically isn't enough. Jonny Wilkinson said all or nothing, and he's right. And the people who matter most in your life, they know the difference. So here's my challenge for you this week. Who are you half present for? Who deserves more of you than you're currently giving? Name them, even just to yourself, then go out and do something about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you. Showing myself honestly has always been at the heart, of Amit's leadership compass. But this episode sits differently because revisiting a 12-year-old self, the beach, the inbox, none of that was easy. What I know now that I wish I'd known sooner is that one of the most important leadership skills has nothing to do with performance. It has everything to do with who you let in and whether you're truly there for them when it matters. Keep leading with clarity, courage, and intent, and keep navigating your leadership compass.